Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Getting with the Program, talking about episode 9 of season 2 of My Hero Academia, Bakugo vs. Uraraka. I am, of course, your ever-friendly Pokeprof, joined once again by Kitty Kross
Go Chaka!
and Ashen Sky.
Explosion!
That was pretty much this episode in a nutshell.
And I think I just mispronounced her name. It's supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be Ochako.
Yeah, Ochako Uraraka.
Uraraka, yeah.
Yeah.
Still, go Ochako!
But this was a very, very interesting episode, and I'll be honest, Uraraka put up a better fight than I was expecting her to do.
Yeah.
Never underestimate the power of spunk.
I mean, true, but even then, her whole thing is making things float, so I am wondering, how in the blue bloody hell is she going to be using that power other than touching Bakugo and going, boing! And literally, that was the strategy that even Deku was going to think up, was get in him, because he always does that right hook. It's where even Deku in the episodes, like, he always starts a battle with his right hook. And, then she would go in, touch him, and get him out of bounds that way. And unfortunately, Bakugo is just too fast and was able to blow her up and blow her away every single time. But as the fight continues to go on, Uraraka runs in, Bakugo blows her up, and it's over and over and over again until about, maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes into the fight, something like that, where we get someone from the audience who is literally starting to boo Bakugo, which honestly I found to be a little bit hilarious.
And Eraserhead promptly put down.
Yeah, just shut down. Literally said, if you were a pro, you need to go hang up your cape. Wow. It's I knew Eraserhead can be a bit harsh at times, but wow. But it's hilarious because Eraserhead saw it, our stupid idiot clone copycat guy saw it, and then, another 3 minutes or so into that fight, we get to see what the heck's going on. Because literally what Uraraka is doing throughout this entire fight is she knows that with her staying... Because she's staying low in the fight. She is literally, doing the Naruto run almost the entire time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is making Bakugo having to aim his explosions down and is tearing up the battlefield. And while all this smoke and stuff, because that's the thing about Bakugo's power, is he's always blinding himself, when he uses his power, because it's explosions. It's hard to not blind yourself with a whole bunch of smoke. And so the entire time, she is touching all these rocks and making them float up into the air to where she has this literal avalanche of stone in the air ready to drop down on him. And I was like, that's a really cool, interesting way of fighting Bakugo. I would have never thought of that.
But she made a mistake in letting him get the chance to notice what she was doing because she brought attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
If she hadn't said anything, it might have worked.
Yeah, but that's how animes work. You can't just not announce your attack.
I mean, depending on the anime, that's the whole point of, calling out attack names. I mean, Kamehameha, anybody? It's kind of in tropiness with the anime, and as much as I love My Hero, there are a few tropes that even it can't escape. That particular strategy fails. Also, at one point during the fight, I kind of skipped over it, but it also shows just what kind of strategy even Uraraka is capable of coming up with, to where she uses smoke not only to her advantage then, but it even leads up to that, because at one point she even throws her jacket in and makes Bakugo think he has her there versus, what actually happens. And I think that's what helps her build that strategy of throwing things up in the air. It's if he can't see all this gravel and stuff in the air, then she has the advantage there. And it just really impresses me, how they came up with that strategy and how well it worked until it didn't.
Well, apparently Bakugo had to put a lot of power into blasting those things away because you could tell his arm was hurting after that.
Mm-hmm. Which goes to show that even if the man is resistant to his own explosions to a certain extent, he can hurt himself with, his own power. Which also actually brings up an interesting thing, because it also made me think. You gotta think, with all that exploding and whatnot for Bakugo's power, his hearing must be shot sometimes. Because he's at ground zero for all of his explosions.
Yeah, but they never addressed that whole thing.
No, but I think it would be like an interesting little side story, like maybe later on in his life is like he's hard of hearing.
If you notice at the end of it, his arms were trembling.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I pointed out that last shot to blow away all those rocks coming down at him. You could tell he was hurting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which goes to show it's like he's capable of great power, but even he has his limits. Which is, again, something I love about this show, is the fact that the characters do have limits. And it's like you can push past those limits, but it's not always going to be well for you.
Poor Uraraka, she was trying so hard at the end there.
Mm-hmm. It's like quite literally she is pushing and trying to shove herself up and to continue fighting.
Her body just couldn't do it anymore.
No. But if anything, I think the intelligent use of her powers, as well as just her tenacity in that fight alone, is going to make some heroes look at her. And that's what I'm saying, is like, just because you don't win doesn't guarantee you for for being a hero. To paraphrase the one thing from Naruto, from a Naruto thing that I actually do enjoy, it just because you are the stronger fighter doesn't mean necessarily you're going to be making top ninja. It requires, what your skills are, what your powers are, what your personality is. All those things rolled up into one. You could be the better fighter, but if you're a shit person, then it's not going to really work. And a good example is like Eraserhead. It's like Eraserhead is not a very much not a people person, but he's able to be a very, very intelligent man, and that goes and makes him to be a great hero on top of his quirk. But that fight ends up with Uraraka being defeated, despite her strategies of rocks fall and Bakugo dies. And she actually talks to her father later on, after she has had a little bit of conversation with Deku. Just about, like, she's putting on a brave face for Deku. But when she talks to her father, she is actually crying, saying, like, she wants to do her best. And because the whole reason Uraraka really wants to be a hero is to support her family. Because her family isn't rich, isn't the most, well-known or well-linked or powerful, which I think a lot of people can relate to. And she wants to support them. She wants to help get them the money they need. And it's just such a heartwarming moment to see, like, her dad's like, honey, you have already gone well beyond what your mother and I had ever expected. And you're still trying your best, and we know you're going to be a great hero. You don't need to rush it. You don't need to be a great hero tomorrow. We'll be okay.
And then while all this is going on, we get the second matchup between Tetsu and Kirishima, which is an arm wrestling contest.
Which ends up with Kirishima winning. And the two are actually, end up, seems to be becoming friends. To where it's like they actually, or at least at the very least, show good sportsmanship, and that apparently...
bro handshake.
Yeah, and that turned Midnight on something fierce. Also, speaking of Midnight, I just want to say, and also to encourage Sky to say something about it, he has also gone and shown us the third age outfit for Midnight.
Or lack thereof.
I mean, she's already made references earlier in the series about it.
Yeah, so he's gone and shown us, and apparently, it's not really a spoiler, but it's more like a world-building aspect. Apparently, that third age outfit for Midnight is the reason why there is clothing restrictions for heroes. Which I agree with. It's like, if I can, I'll even show this on screen right now, but I'm not sure if that would be allowed on YouTube right now.
Well, nothing's showing, so...
I mean, yeah, but it's still very risque. Oh my goodness. But then we start getting to the build-up of going with Todoroki versus Deku.
But first, we have a short conversation between Deku and Endeavor.
To where we don't know if Endeavor knows about One for All or suspects anything. He knows that something's up considering Deku's power. I've seen powers like that before, and they're called All Mights. But the one real thing that I love, and it's also interesting to hear coming from Deku of all characters, is that he flat out says to Endeavor, I'm not All Might, and your son isn't you. Which really is interesting because for as much as Deku loves All Might to where his actual official battle costume or his hero costume right now is specifically designed to be an homage to All Might, he is still, at the end of the day, gonna want to be his own hero. He is the ultimate fanboy, but that doesn't mean he's going to turn himself into like Buddy from frickin' Incredibles.
Who?
Syndrome.
The guy who became Syndrome. He was a little kid.
Oh, the meme.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I love how the fact that you only really know that through as the meme.
When everybody's an orphan, no one will be special.
It's like when everyone's super, no one will be.
No one will be.
I'm sorry, that I still love Syndrome as a villain. He was like the best part of that movie, and I'll be entirely honest. But
you can't just orphan every child in Gotham, Batman.
It's like, why not? Oh my.
So now we ended it off with the beginning of the fight between Todoroki and Deku. I am so excited to see how this turns out.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, we can skip to the end of the season because everything else is just filler. No.
Even if it is filler, I'm gonna be fucking watching it. Are you kidding me?
I'm joking.
Even if you weren't joking, I'd still be watching it. It's like, let me put it this way. I do not mind filler unless it is overwhelming filler.
My hero is
Because it's
remarkably light on.
filler.
No.
No.
Filler
No.
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 No. But in all seriousness, I don't mind filler. My problem is with filler if we get to like Dragon Ball Z levels of filler.
Where it takes 50 episodes for 5 minutes to pass.
Exactly.
Just one single punch and 9,000 screams.
Yes. It's stuff like that. That kind of filler I don't like. The filler I do like, despite me never actually having watched any of it, I know it exists, and so I'm using it as an example. I know One Piece has entire arcs that are filler, but it's well-designed filler to where they're not doing anything that's going to eventually screw over with the actual continuity of what the show has already done, and it's there to entertain people while they're waiting for the manga artist to get the next stuff out.
I mean, look at Sailor Moon. The whole Makaiju arc was a filler arc.
Yeah, the Doomtree arc too.
That's the Makaiju arc.
Hon, you gotta remember, I'm going by American names here. Come on.
Sorry.
Merkel.
I'm sorry. I am an ugly American. I'll be the first to admit this. Unless it's something like My Hero, where it's primarily using the Japanese names and terminology, I am...
It's primarily doing Star Wars puns.
Yeah, you know what I mean. My point is Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, Ronin Warrior, stuff like that. I am not going to know any of the Japanese names for their attacks or abilities. For me...
Masaheikopo.
For me... Moccasin Suppo. Yeah, no, stuff like that. It's good. For me, it's always going to be the special beam cannon. It's always going to be...
I know, honey. I'm just familiar with calling it the Makaiju arc.
I know.
We're getting ranty. Let's move on.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I will say just an aside to that, just real fast. One thing that has gone and transferred fully over to Japanese, and you can blame Team 4-Star for this, is Kikoho. That's the only thing that really, when it comes to what I was raised with versus what I know now, that I'm willing to agree on. But when it comes down to...
But again, filler arcs, sometimes they're good,
Mm-hmm.
So It just all depends.
Yeah, it really depends. Sometimes you got good filler. Sometimes you got good filler. Sometimes you got bad filler. It really all depends. But My Hero so far has shown me that this show is good enough that even if it is filler, I'm wanting to watch it.
Let's get back to it.
But it's just like how Steven Universe, that show was good enough to where, yes, even though we had a lot of filler, most of it was good enough to watch. So I'm excited.
Speaking of watching, we should watch.
You guys are both too excited to get back to the actual show, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty then. Well, in that case, any final thoughts before we move on?
Back to the show?
Okay. The fact that there was a good chunk of silence, then back to okay, let's just go do it.
Mankako Sapo.
With all that
now we're
said,
gonna be saying that all night.
yes, you are. With all that said, all that said, we wish you guys a wonderful evening, and until then, stay frosty.
Toodles.
It's Christmas!
Thing is, when we're recording this, he's right. Goodbye, guys.